Welcome to the Savage World's GM podcast. I'm your host, Jared Savage Daddy Gunning. Tonight's episode brought to you by our patrons at patreon.com. Check them out today. Join their ranks. Throw us a buck if you like what we do and support the show. It's patreon.com/SWGM podcast. We're on Twitter and Facebook, SWGM podcast. And check us out on iTunes, itunes.com/Savage World's GM podcast. And lastly, but not leastly, we are check out the YouTube channel at youtube.com/SWGM podcast. There's a trend there. If you're watching the live stream tonight on YouTube, the live event, feel free to participate in the chat. We do bring those in to the show. Tonight's topic, free for all. We're just going to have a smorgasbord conversation about any topic that happens to come up and tickles our fancy. Here to talk about it, Chris, the Savage Mommy Fox.
Tickling my fancy. I love it.
Dustin, the Zealot Smith, the Savage Zealot Smith. Damn.
It's quite all right. I have that effect on some people.
Dave, the Rules Maven Scott.
You know, Dustin, there's a great cure for the mange you seem to have there in the beard. It's called beard oil.
Beard oil?
Beard oil.
And Scott W., the Savage Cheerleader, a.k.a. Disavow.
Spellcasters are the character class for millennials. I just figured it out why you dumb fucks like them so much. Because you can literally do anything with no work at all.
Awesome. So I guess that's where we're kicking off our topic discussion tonight. Millennials and role-playing. Let's go.
I feel good. I feel like Dustin gave me a therapy session and I feel fucking phenomenal. I'm woke now. I understand these dipshits.
Are you lit?
I am lit.
Did I use that right? Because I have no clue.
No, because you're white.
Okay.
Oh, wait. I think the kids are also saying bet now.
Oh,
no. We have to fleek our yeets.
Yeah, I really do. I am shocked that I couldn't put two and two together. That the reason millennials love spellcasters because they're bullshit fucking Harry Potter nonsense, and that you can literally do everything without even trying. Holy fuck. So what's the real topic?
It's freeform. Anything we want to talk about.
I guess to follow on to that, I have to point out I absolutely love a post that Shane put up. I believe it was earlier today. It might have been the last couple days on Facebook where he talks about the way the new support role works.
Yeah.
And he specifically talks about the idea of like the arcane background character casting basically a cantrip, and it's just a support role with their arcane spell that doesn't require power points. It doesn't require the character to have a specific power, and just wham, there it is, right there from the freaking creator's mouth. What we've been saying for years is just freaking trap that shit.
And then you got the automatic, so they can do it at Liberty. Isn't that overpowered?
Yeah, but now it's real because Clint or Shane said it.
Yeah,
so,
coming from Shane, it legitimizes that idea.
Yeah, it's gospel.
Yeah, well, now it's canonized, right?
Yeah.
Now it's canonical.
Because, God forbid you have some kind of
It's not canonical. It's not canonical until Clint puts it in the book or in the
forum.
The forums, yeah, true.
So, 5.5 coming out soon.
Oh, wow.
Damn.
5.4 caused some waves. I don't think 5.5 is coming anytime soon.
Damn, it's rough.
I have not seen the immediate backlash to something updated by PEG like the 5.4 thing since probably the shake and change. Just that immediate, knee-jerk, oh my god, I can't believe you guys changed the resolution reaction was just, it harkened back to several years ago when everybody was running with their hair on fire.
So let's talk about that. What is the change? Has anybody read it yet?
No, it wasn't. It's not a change to the book at all. What it was is they changed the resolution that everything displayed in.
A mistake, it sounds
like. A mistake, and then had to change it back. So we got one that, went out accidentally, and then they said, you know what, from now on, we're just going to release the highest resolution version we have to everybody. And so 5.4 was this giant file that you can go in and optimize down to a lower resolution if you wanted to. But now if you were printing it for yourself, it doesn't look like hot garbage.
Yeah.
So I mean, it wasn't like they changed the rules or anything, but oh my god, the number of posts on Facebook suddenly talking about how the world is on fire because of a date.
What was the complaint really? Was the file size?
Yeah.
Some people were complaining about the file size. Some people were
Took too long to download.
Yeah, some people were still complaining about like the 5.3 where it came out at a poor resolution. So you had kind of this double step of people complaining. Some complaining because they hadn't got the newest version. Others complaining because it was taking too long to get the newest version.
I mean, what internet are you using where you're complaining? I mean, how big was the file? I gotta look this up now because if this thing's not fucking 26 gigs like a fucking video game, I'm gonna be really viscerally upset at fucking nerds.
I think it was the AOL users.
Yeah, right. They're ones who are still glomming onto those fucking those discs.
26 baud modem.
Yeah. That takes what, like 3 months to download?
Yeah, it's gonna take a little bit of time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, look at it this way. If you're one of those people, you don't need this update because your dot matrix printer can't handle the resolution.
Yeah, I mean, you're gonna print it out in fucking 800 by 600 anyway, so who cares? Oh man, people, fuck.
No, I mean, nerds are gonna rage about something. It's just
can you 3D print it?
Oh fuck! I 3D printed the book.
Yeah, that would be awesome. Great.
If someone out there had that kind of nerd time, that would be fucking hilarious. Oh man!
Do not put it out there, or it will happen.
That would be amazing,
guys.
Even
if
worse.
We did that, Terry Crews would sue the shit out of us because he is all in that book.
That's fucked up, man. It's fucked up. Damn.
So anyway,
yeah. So that was the big update, and then Wizards can do things. Good.
Yeah. Again, just the idea of a little creativity goes so freaking far, and yet it's constantly like pulling teeth to get people to let go of. Well, it doesn't say you can do that in the book.
Yeah. Well, I had this. There was another YouTube channel that did like a 5-video expose of the game I wrote, and in the conversation piece with the guy doing the video, he was like, "Hey, kind of a free-form environment here, and really a lot of it is left up to you to imaginate." And one of the comments was, "Well, maybe people don't want to buy a fucking book that just tells them, 'Hey, bud, do it your own way.'" I was like, "Are you shitting me? You handholdy entitled cunt." What the fuck do you need? Stop playing role-playing games. Stop playing role-playing games.
The fun British way.
Oh, stop playing role-playing games. Go get a new fucking hobby. Play war games. Get all your dolls on the table and you're measuring your plastic dicks that tell you how far out the fucking imaginary bullets go, and be happy because all that shit doesn't want you to fucking imaginate anything.
I kind of feel like there are some people that really do, since you bring up war games, there are some people that can't break that idea. Like everything has to be spelled out and they are only thinking in terms of combat.
Well, because your table has to play the game the way my table plays the game, where I couldn't possibly transfer to your table in some imaginary universe where I'm going to move out of my mom's basement and suddenly go to a different state.
Real men live in their mother's attic.
I'm on fire tonight, goddammit.
Scott, don't beat around the bush. Tell us what you really think.
I'm on fire. These fucking people. And it's not the audience, because we have the best audience.
We love you. Please buy our stuff.
Scott gets to pick the topic.
Our audience imaginates. It's their friends who suck.
Did you guys buy Icy Belly of Philly and Manor? It was great, wasn't it?
Actually, I did buy it. I bought that because I wanted to see what clever shit was up. So I did buy it, and then I bought a fucking Jumpstart. Apparently, I already had access to become a Kickstart backer. I didn't realize that, Chris. You could have fucking reminded me.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Blame Chris for something.
That's the genius of his marketing strategy.
For free, but you got for free
because I don't download shit from Peg.
Because of the resolution.
Yeah, the resolution was dog shit. The file size was too big with 800 resolution. I don't understand it. It was an 80 gig file at fucking 600 by 800.
Yeah, I don't have all day to unzip files and
I
shit.
was waiting for Savage Worlds fucking Adventure Edition. Was like watching porn back in the '93. Geek. Oh, I get to see how chase rules finish off. Oh, still disappointing.
It was like download. It was like torrenting a movie file. Trying to watch it while you're streaming it, right?
Why would you? Ooh, don't say piracy. That's verboten. Even though my game is on a fucking requested torrent site. I was just like, yeah, torrent away. I don't give a fuck. That means you want it.
Let me ask you guys that question because I know that it's going to be amazingly popular. Isn't the whole idea of like finding out that your stuff ended up on a torrent site, like I understand the lost revenue, but it's pretty freaking awesome that someone wanted it that bad that they went to the extent to want to steal it.
Yeah, because mine came up on the slant board as a request. They're like, "Hey, we're desperately looking for a torrent of this," and I was just like, "Yeah, it's not lost revenue because you were never going to buy the book in the first place." So.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. You were just gonna wait.
Yeah.
Get it. Get it a different way.
Yeah.
It reminds me. It's kind of like the pirating version of Pay What You Want.
But pay what you want is basically piracy. Because if I pay what I want and it's nothing, then I can just give it out to people.
I really feel like the reason why we even charge money in the first place is to pay for stuff so we can make more stuff.
Oh, bro, I'm totally in that. Everything I made from the game I produced and everything I'm going to produce for Savage Worlds now, all that money doesn't go to my bank account. It goes right into Drive-Thru-RPG for art assets and being able to transfer over to other people's funds. Yeah, man, I don't...
Let's all be honest. As creators, and I know every single person on this podcast is actually a creator, most of the money that you make from anything you create is spent on art. And everything that's left over is spent on Carl Kessler.
That's because artists feel some kind of way about their shit.
I feel like...
the whole making money thing ain't happening because I think we've put out more of our own money to get the SWAT kickstart or the SWAT jumpstart going and other things. Yeah.
I know for a fact that we are upside down by 2/3 of the company value right now. Because it's all the investment money from the owners going into making sure our stuff is worth buying. And we're just hoping sometime in the first couple of years to break even.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. If you're lucky. Yeah.
No, fuck that. I'm getting rich, bitch.
Hey.
I think it'll happen whenever we actually get the movie deal going.
You might get what the fuck is happening behind you?
He's being humped by the Easter Bunny. Just leave it alone.
Shit.
Yeah. Don't draw attention to it. It's a background. It's a comedic background sight gag.
See, the trick is with the unseen things of this world, you have to pretend like you don't see them, because if they know you see them, they come for you.
It's Cthulhu Cottontail. That's what it is.
Shit.
Yeah.
Oh, don't put that out loud. Someone will try to make that. That's another idea, right in the bank.
Copyright 2019, Atomic Ninja Studios.
Okay, let's point this out. No, Art, I'm not sending you any money unless you provide art for the book.
Art? Are you an artist? You could send me some art. I'm looking for artists for the next project. I got one lined up doing a whole book, one single art style. And I got another project that's in the works that I need a very specific art style for.
I will say this about what you just said, Scott. That is an amazing pull when you can get a single artist to do the whole book.
Yeah.
That it is in that same style throughout. It is so freaking hard to get somebody to agree. Because you're talking minimum, 40, 45 pieces?
It depends on what you want and what you're going for, right? And for this guy, and the biggest thing is longevity of the project, depending on what kind of detail. But the art style that I'm using for my first major setting is going to be very gritty shit. It's a very specific style, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I'll knock this out for you in 4 months, bro." So I don't know where the guy is from, like Colombia maybe. So he could be Cartel. I'm not really sure, but it's fine.
So let's tackle Ruben, since Dave put that up there. I know my answer. My answer, but has there been skills in Suede, Deluxe, etc.? you done some interesting interpretation examples like fighting skill to gauge a weapon, typical persuasion to detect bullshit, etc. Not sure that's a question.
I don't even know if that's English.
If I'm understanding the question, which I mean, it came from Ruben, and reading Rubenese is an acquired skill.
Right.
I think what he's asking is there a skill or a mechanic we've ever used in a creative manner, such as using the fighting skill to gauge how good a weapon is?
Yes.
Yeah.
There you go.
We've talked about doing that on a previous podcast. Yeah.
We had the example we used from the Savage Firefly game that I ran that Jared likes to make me retell, where I just had them do a straight healing check to see if they could determine what medicine was worth looting from the ship in the short amount of time they had to loot the ship. I was like, yeah, give me a healing roll. Great. This is how many points worth of medical supplies you're able to find because of how good that roll was.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'll throw one out that Ruben is aware of, having been in Dead Ed and playtesting. We used, there was a situation where the players came across a dead NPC in the woods and wanted to determine how they had died. And so we said, make a healing roll.
Yep.
Make a healing roll to see. It doesn't require forensic knowledge, it doesn't require notice. Make a healing roll. And then Dave's character rolled a critical failure, and being Dave, he went, "Oh my God, he was murdered. This character was murdered by this other character," which is not at all what happened.
I like it. But there are people who are
Stamos.
Yeah, there are people who are opposed to that kind of shit. I had a dude call me on that same thing. I let our party ranger use his healing skill, right, to determine cause of death of this character, and he's like, and there was a person who fought back. They're like, "No, that's bullshit. There's no way that could be possible." It's like,
okay, so let's explore that for a second. Let's break that down. So you have a skill that you know how to identify an injury, know physiology, and apply a fix to a broken limb or things like that, but you can't figure out how somebody died using the same examination.
Or
oh look, his throat is
identify the wound.
Yeah, it's fucking crazy. But I've done the same shit. If someone's playing mostly for D20 games are easier to sort of indemnify this with, but it's worse in Savage Worlds, right? Is your character archetype. I'll do exactly what Dave was talking about. It's like, cool. I will make them roll for it some of the times, right? But I will tell them, okay, cool. Based on you're a seasoned fighter, so based on how this guy is standing, he's got his blade cocked back, his balance is perfect. And kind of go into that, and I will describe a villain based on every character class's perception, and give them something to be like, oh, fuck, okay, cool, I feel special now.
Yeah, and I think there's that old rule that every character at the table, that player's character should feel special in some manner, and being able to take a skill they have or an edge they have and pull it into the game and reuse it in a unique way for the situation they're currently in. And I'm not talking about like off the wall shit. I'm talking about literally something that makes sense, like a healing skill, easily able to identify what medications are. The healing skill is very easy to identify, how hurt somebody is. The fighting skill to gauge how powerful your opponent is, that you're going to be facing. Yeah. Those are very easy things for you to do. And then make that player appreciate the points they spent on those skills and edges on their character sheet.
Yeah. And then two, you can go, and here comes more heresy, right? I will have someone who wants to do like daring deeds out of Dungeon Crawl Classics in Savage World, where you do crazy shit and get a bonus to your damage rolls, right? So I will do that with Savage Worlds. Be like, okay, cool, I'm going to run up the fucking wall and use that energy to come down on the ogre's spine with my blade. Okay, cool story. Do the athletics check, and on a raise, I'm going to give you an extra D6 as if you had a raise on your fucking fire. I just literally don't care. I don't give a fuck how many dice you roll to kill the pretend monster. So it doesn't bother me at all. I want it to be epic and awesome and everyone to high five each other.
Yeah, I grant plus bonuses of +4 or add a D6 all the time for stuff like, a creative little thing that someone throws on there. And unfortunately, I do it all the time, but my players don't give me the opportunity to do it as much as I would like.
Well, why is that?
And it's just the players aren't creative, as we've talked about before. That what you launched the freaking podcast with. It's the idea that the player doesn't come up with this interesting thing they want to try. Yeah. They're too terrified of the multi-action penalty, or they're too terrified of being told that that's going to take multiple rounds, or they're too terrified that there's not something on their character sheet or in the book that specifically says they get to do the thing. So they don't even try to say that that's what they want to do. Now, the group I'm running on Tuesday nights currently, completely the opposite. I've got 2 players in there who've never opened Savage Worlds books, ever.
Ooh.
They are playing in the game completely and totally from asking questions to us, and we're answering them as to what they can put on their character sheet. And then they're just saying, this is what my character does.
I like it.
I am having so much fun running that game. Because not only, one, are they not constrained by what they think is or isn't in the rules, they're not even constrained by the idea of it being a game. They're playing it strictly as a storytelling adventure. And because of that, I can just riff off everything that falls out of their faces.
Yeah. Well, it's I mean, I think like D&D has its hit points as the thing that everybody in that game focuses on. I think there's too much focus in Savage Worlds on notice. I'm so tired of everything being a notice skill. And now with Suede, it's athletics is becoming the new notice.
Of course, but it's kind of how they designed it, right? It takes the place of so many fucking physical maneuvers.
I don't think that's the case. I think athletics is getting a little overplayed right now.
Sure.
I think the Suede version of notice, after the game has been out there for a while, is going to be freaking common knowledge. I think everyone is going to have a max freaking die type in common knowledge so fast your head will spin once they start realizing how many situations the book actually calls for common knowledge.
Yeah, it's true. And I think so. There's a product. Actually, speaking of Mabel, I need to email her after the show. There's an adventure I wrote, and it calls for rolls, but it's not like, hey, on a notice test, right? You can fucking blah blah blah. It's like, hey, on X skill based on this, on X skill based on this, X. You're right. There's choices built into the fucking adventure. It's essentially to teach someone to think outside the box while playing fucking Savage Worlds. Is how I wanted to design it.
Yeah, I'm gonna throw this out here too. Lloyd McVie too. Rolling untrained is my favorite part of the game. I'm with you, Lloyd. I love the unskilled roll. It's either really awesome or an epic failure, but both are entertaining. Absolutely. I listen. If notice, if I do not like the idea that notice is now a core skill. I so much enjoyed never having characters with notice and always making a notice checks unskilled.
Yeah.
Okay, hold on. Chris, I need you to read Sai's last comment because that is just amazing.
Oh yeah. He always takes a multi-action penalty to slap you with a broken lame arm. Yeah.
Yes.
He is working using that multi-action just to whack people with that old floppy arm that he's got now.
'Tis but a flesh wound.
That's what happens when the other party member says, "Well, I shoot the big giant bird that's got my friend 40 feet in the air."
Well, I'll tell you this. We had a design discussion right after Suede dropped to Aces, before it was publicly available, and I rewrote zombies in Dead End and made them vulnerable all the time. It's a flat +2 to whatever you do against a zombie permanently. And as soon as our players realized that was there has not been a single interaction with zombies where players aren't willing to take multi-actions.
Nice.
That simple, I get a +2 that cancels that multi-action penalty partially. Suddenly they're taking all 3 actions every round because they feel like they can get away with it. They're only getting a -2 instead of a -4, and they suddenly feel super powerful, and they're doing risky stuff.
Nice. So hold on, Chris.
The fools.
I gotta roll tape back on Chris's comment. Chris, what's the game story? Did someone actually think they could shoot a bird and kill their friend out of the air without consequences?
Well, let's just say this: when the player said, "I'm going to shoot the creature," and I said, "You are, huh?" He's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Excellent." And you could just see Sai's face, like, "What the fuck are you doing? What? And he shot it, and it dropped him, and we rolled on that injury table. We got the permanent injury lame on the arm, and it was
permanent injury, no less.
it was just great because I just sat there and he said, "Yeah, I'm going to shoot it." And I'm like, "Oh, okay, please."
Nice.
How high was it at the ground? How high was it?
I don't remember. It was like 30 feet up, or maybe a little bit more. It was just like, and I did all kinds of damage, and it was great. I loved it, and obviously they did too because he still talks about it and he's using it. That's what I think is cool about it, is that he's using it now in game.
Nice.
It's a hindrance, but he's making it work.
That's cool as fuck.
I said it's like when you had that family member, or I know I did, that had like that. They got their finger chopped off and they had that nub, and they would come and they would just like get you with that nub in the head. And you know how bad that hurts. So
yeah,
it's just this floppy arm and just whack, because it's not bothering him any.
So he's never unarmed? Is that the idea?
Hey, I didn't think about that, but yeah, no, don't tell him that.
You know what? He could actually have a flail attached to it.
Oh, God.
Oh, my gosh. He could have a flail attached to it and put a glove on the end of the flail.
Man.
Oh, no, this is Deadlands. There's no flails in Deadlands. No flails in Deadlands. Not going to happen. No.
You got grain threshers.
That'd be kind of cool, though.
All right.
Is amazing for that. Yeah.
Yeah, tell him just tie a bullet to the end.
Right? Yeah, man. Rose McGowan had a machine gun leg.
That's right.
That's right.
How did she fire that then?
She stood on the bayonet.
That's one of those movies where people are like, she had a fucking machine gun leg. I don't give a fuck. That was awesome.
Well, so let's talk about that for a second, because I get this all the time where people want to pull verisimilitude into the game and say you can't do the cool thing, and it's like, fuck off.
Yeah.
It's a goddamn game. If they want their character to do 9 somersaults and a backflip and have a machine gun leg and fire full auto, they are absolutely going to get to narrate that shit and try it.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it comes down to like when you first start the game, right? Like, what do we expect out of this? And, are you guys cool with some crazy shit's going to go down and be wild? We'll have some limits, but I'll let you know when we reach, retard level. But just go crazy with it at first. I guess that's a conversation you got to have, right? For the stogies.
But is it? Because, I mean, even like, take Dead End. Dead End is an ultra freaking grim, gritty setting.
Yeah.
And I absolutely love it when the players just lean in and go over the top in the setting. Like they aren't trying to pull the slapstick stuff. They're trying to pull stuff that makes sense in a zombie setting. Yeah. But they're just going all out. Like, we had the guys that wanted to dissect the zombies, rub the guts all over their own bodies, use camouflage to walk through a horde. I mean, there's so many things that they'll just go all out, and that is the craziest, dumbest, stupidest thing if you let verisimilitude get in the way.
Yeah,
it makes perfect sense if you're just saying it's a game and we're going to play and have fun.
Well, I think there's a certain wisdom too when as a GM you get to a certain point where you just go, what do you want to do? And you go, okay. Yeah. You don't go, are you sure you want to do that? That may not be a good idea. You do realize falling damage, how it works in this.
Yeah, right.
No. Mm-mm. You're going to say, hold on, you're a 6'2", 210-pound MMA guy, and you're going to go crawling through an air vent in a zombie-infested Walmart. Awesome. Go for it.
That's not going to work out well.
You hear the creak of the metal. The next thing you know, you're falling 50 feet towards the poured concrete floor.
And your weird cult leader friend is issuing the last prayer for you.
Can I make an athletics roll to grab on anything? No.
Yeah.
You cannot.
No, there's nothing to grab onto. It's
Yeah.
all coming down.
But this shit kind of started back in the 80s. There's a dungeon, a Dragon Magazine article about some players. They were playing a game. It was in an infested jungle, heavy canopy and shit, right? And the wandering monster of the moment was a rock, and it swooped in and pulled one of the player characters out and fucking started carrying him off. So of course, what's the first fucking thing the nerds fucking start lamenting? You told me a big fucking bird with a 60-foot wingspan flies around the jungle that it can't see through or enter and looking for fucking food. Shut the fuck up. Yes, because it's awesome. Why do you care? Oh my god. Basically, it's like you fuck my character, so now I want to fucking whine about it, right? Instead of reveling in the glory.
It's also too. It's like verisimilitude becomes this this lever, right?
Yeah.
It's like, oh well, you weren't shouting foul when you were firing unlimited shots from that gun, and
Right, yeah.
would have run out of bullets.
Right, yeah.
Do you want to shout unfair when it doesn't play to your advantage?
I played with someone like that who if the monster hit him or the monster did something, it was all I'm going to be butthurt. But when he's killing the monsters, that's all okay, and when he's doing all this damage, it's all okay. But you turn that around and let the monster do that, then I'm all butthurt about it. And oh my god, that used to drive me crazy. It's like we're all playing the game here.
Yeah.
My monsters and my NPCs can do the same shit you all can do.
Yeah.
So deal with it.
Right? It's like every monster they want to have just be completely fucking stupid and use zero tactics. It's like, this is a species that's survived by passing down fucking its DNA, right? If you want to get all verisimilitude on it, okay, cool story. These goblins aren't dipshits; they're predators.
Yeah, they're pack hunters.
Yeah.
So get ready.
Yeah. So now I'm gonna fuck you. Thank you for bringing up the fucking fact that you want verisimilitude. So here comes the fucking gang up.
You want verisimilitude? First of all, pull your friend out of the tiger trap he just fell into.
Right? Yeah. I'm sorry. He's in a tiger trap. You got caught in the fucking vine that took your ass up 30 feet into a tree. You fell over and got crushed like a fucking ATST walker. So your party's in great shape for this first round of combat. Let's do this.
Deadfall fucking pendulum that came through with poison spikes on it.
Right? Yeah. It's just crazy. I don't know, man. Chris, how did you handle that? Did you guys eventually have a conversation and just, or did you just say fuck that group?
No, I would just bring it up almost every time.
Okay.
I'm like at the table. Even I'd be like, they can do the same shit you can do, so you need to just quit acting like that.
Nice. Did you stop getting bitched up or?
A little bit.
Okay.
Still happened occasionally.
You can't take the pumpkin spice out of people, bro.
But you gotta just roll with it.
Yeah.
I'm hoping to get better at that.
Art, I'm going to throw out Art's comment. A common saying at my table is, "Don't say that the DM will use it against us."
Yes. Fucking fat.
And that's something I need to start doing more of, is listening to what people say and then just pull that, because I think that's great. That's a great saying.
You kidding me? The common saying around the dead end table is, "Oh no, that absolutely is what needs to happen, because that's way worse."
Yes.
I'm not gonna...
We've had that conversation, sorry, Dustin, before in this podcast, I think a couple of times, that the players will think of worse shit for you to do to them and worse outcomes. If you were like, hey, the goblin hits you with his fucking axe and it's coming hard. How does that affect you? And they'll just start making up shit. Like, oh, it cuts my fucking leg off and it goes in my dick. Like, all right. Yes, it does.
Dude, nothing is better than handing a player control of their own crit fail and just watching them narrate themselves into the deepest freaking hole and then going, "That's great. And what actually happens is about half of that." Because otherwise, I've just killed your character with that one roll.
What were you going to say, Dustin? I'm sorry, dude.
Oh, I was going to say, having play tested Dead End, I have never seen such a group just decide that suicide was a fun option.
That's a great thing. So let me give you a little background, right? So they're on top of a Walmart. They've pissed off the leadership. They've killed the leaderships of the survivor group. There's one psychotic member who's approached every character and saying, "Hey, so-and-so needs to die. They need to go. Why don't we work together on it? It'll be easy." And every player character that turns this NPC down, and I telegraph through the role play, very, very much telegraph that she's going to poison everybody at dinner. I make it very clear that she's going to poison everybody at dinner. They all sit down, and willfully player characters eat the poison and don't try to do anything to save themselves.
Okay.
And they're like, oh my God, we're all going to die. This is awesome.
This is where it gets even worse, okay? I literally did my character was a paranoid, delusional, schizophrenic cult leader. Like, he was literally talking to angels throughout the whole thing.
I'm going to stop you right there just for a second and say, that should tell you everything you need to know about Dead End, that is the description of a player character.
Yeah, that's a valid character concept.
And that was the most sane character because that's the only character that lived. So I scavenge and I find med kits. And when the crazy lady invites me to dinner, I say, no, ma'am, due to some unforeseen events, and I must take it upon myself to fast. All right? He's got a real thick Southern accent. But
she decided to have dinner in your honor and cook your favorite dish anyway.
Yeah, but I wasn't going to eat it. Yeah, so here's the thing: as a player, I couldn't make the next session because life came up. But I set everything up to save everybody, specifically myself.
Yeah.
Because
they weren't interested. They weren't interested.
No. A med kit has something called serum of ipecac, and if you get poisoned, you take the serum of ipecac and you just get all that poison out, along with everything that you've eaten for the last 3 days.
Here's what you have to understand. Go ahead, Dave.
I was going to say, no, what you have to understand with this group is that as soon as they found out their characters were even kind of maybe possibly poisoned, they had a small upset stomach right after dinner, and one of the NPCs goes, "You didn't." And another one goes, "I don't know what you're talking about." A player character narrates that they grab the woman that they suspect of poisoning them and jump off the side of the building.
Holy shit.
So this is a situation, and here's what happens, and I don't want to make this a dead end podcast, so we'll wrap this story up. But here's the thing that happens that's unique in Dead End. I've never seen in any other game, role-playing game ever. The players end up getting battered wife syndrome. They show up week after week to take punishment and abuse.
What?
And if they are not, if their lives are not threatened, they don't feel like they've done a good enough job in the game.
Yeah.
To the point where it's not the GM doing a TPK, it's the players doing a TPK on themselves.
Yeah, why else would you willingly fucking go off? My warlock is going to go explore this fucking dark, dangerous dungeon all by himself.
I couldn't save them. I could not save them. The paranoid, delusional lunatic that heard voices could not save them.
And I don't want to get into yet another story, but I will say that's not the first time we've had a session end in a TPK caused by suicide. We've had other sessions where players have had their character choose the easy way out from Dead End. And sometimes it was in order to, roll up a new character, but most of the time it was because that was the role play option that they felt was appropriate for their character at the time.
Yeah.
The very first playtest campaign of Dead End, where we get to the end and literally the primary playtest cast had not suffered a single death. We'd had a few guest players come in and their characters all died, but somehow the core cast made it through a solid 18 months of Jared's game without dying. And we're listening to the stories about the other groups he's running this through, just dying every week, 3-4 deaths a session. We didn't have a single death. We get to the end, every single member of that group narrated their own character death as a post-game narration.
Epilogue.
What you do afterwards.
That's cool. Very cool.
Yeah. And it bears mentioning. Players need to embrace failure a lot more. And I know we've said that on this podcast before. It bears repeating. Encourage the players to embrace failure. Failure is fun.
Yeah.
Winning is boring. Nobody tells great stories about how their character never suffered a broken arm after falling 350 feet out of the mouth of a bird because their dumbass friend shot the bird.
Right.
Those stories people tell about role play and their characters all come from epic failure.
Yeah.
Those are the memorable moments. But okay, so go ahead and throw out Art's question real quick, Dave.
So Art asks, okay, here's a question. Besides Heroes Never Die, how do you suggest a GM get the players to be comfortable with the character death?
Kill him.
The very first thing I suggest, in order to get your players okay with the idea of character death, is to get them truly on board with whatever genre you're running. If you're running zombie survival, if they're truly on board with the idea of a harsh zombie survival, you're going to have stories like we have for Dead End. If you're running a modern military, you're going to have players who want their character to go down in a blaze of glowing gun barrels. Yep. You're going to get players who buy all the way in. Yeah. That's going to make them 100% willing for their character to, make the hard choice to, I don't want to ruin a movie that's currently in theaters, but, to make the heroic sacrifice for everybody else.
Well, and Ruben says, session 0. And I think that's a time where you could maybe discuss it and just say, hey, this might happen. And it may be that you never get them comfortable with character death. I mean, we all talk about, we like it when our characters die, but a lot of people don't. That's not what they're there to do in the game. They're not there for that type of a game where I'm okay with 5 of my characters dying, and so maybe they're not going to be comfortable with it. But if you have that discussion and it's part of the game, hopefully they can at least understand. And if you don't, I think you also need to not. And this is said over and over and over in advice columns and all this shit, is not give that, not have them die for something that's useless, has no meaning, a mistake of a die roll, a mistake of a rule, shit like that. Make that death meaningful, or make them want to do it, I guess.
I'm going to disagree. I'm going to disagree. And excuse me 1 second. I got to mute. I disagree with this idea that you have to go out in a heroic death. You're playing by a set of rules, and players have agency. And when you decide to run across the rope bridge while it's burning,
but see, that's not. I don't think that's a stupid death. That's a choice you made to do something stupid that caused your death. So that's kind of
you can't control the consequences of the action, is what I'm saying.
Sure.
There's this whole bit about trying to make it a heroic sacrifice, a death. If the player wants to do that with their character, by all means, facilitate. But every once in a while, I'm sorry, the GM gets a lucky dice roll and does 4 wounds worth of damage, and you roll a crit fail on the incapacitation table, you're dead.
Right, and in one of my Deadlands groups, she shall remain nameless, but I've killed like 3 of her characters, and no one else's characters have died.
Why do you hate women, Chris?
And we still joke about it.
I'm going to say this. You hear this all the time. Well, the GM killed my character. I'm going to say this right now. The GM does not kill characters. Poor decisions and bad dice rolls. Kill characters.
Very true.
And sometimes
I will say this: it is entirely possible for a GM to kill a character. It's called GM fiat.
Right.
And if your GM is going around using GM fiat to kill characters, and it wasn't something that was agreed upon, that's a dick move.
Yeah,
you absolutely have, complete and total, reason to complain. If you've ever had that happen, you've also opened a Willy Wonka golden ticket. You've won the lottery 37 times, and you've been struck by lightning more than once. Yeah. Because it just doesn't happen. These are, the reason they call those unicorn situations, they call them one-offs, is because they happened once, ever. You don't have GMs who are doing these horrible things. And the one I get the most upset about is when I hear people say, I don't want characters to die because of a bad dice roll, then don't play. Because
Exactly.
here's the thing, a bad dice roll is exactly what should lead to about 80% of character death is a bad dice roll by the player, because they should be failing an incapacitation check. There's no other route that leads to death in Savage Worlds than an incapacitation check. Therefore, 80% of all character death is going to come off of just a bad dice roll. The other 15% probably comes from a player choosing to make that heroic sacrifice and saying, I don't even want to make the incapacitation roll because it doesn't mean as much if I don't have my character lay down their life in this situation. You know, I hate to say it to you all, but think of the biggest heroic death you can think of in any popular culture, whether it's, you know, a movie you saw, a book you read, a game you played in, and ask yourself, would it be as great and poignant of a moment if the character succeeded on their incapacitation roll and suddenly stood back up 10 minutes later?
Okay.
Yeah, but I want to win.
I have to. All right, guys, get your bingo cards out.
Oh, shit.
So you know The Last Jedi, right?
What?
Star Wars, The Last Jedi.
Oh no! Wait, hold on, Dustin. You can't
Never
talk
heard
about
of
Star
it.
Wars. That's for that. There's a ban on Star Wars talk. You realize that, right?
Okay, so
Go ahead.
we're going to
Go
talk
ahead.
about
Last Jedi.
Space Mary Poppins.
Yes, that was the beautiful scene. Is stunning and brave.
Yeah. Okay, so here's the deal, right? It actually was a beautiful scene, and I'll tell you why. You have the antagonist, who's the son of one of the main characters,
Spoiler.
who had just killed his father. All right. I hate it.
Keep going.
All right. Just killed his father. And I will give credit to Rian Johnson and whoever shot this, because this was actually a very good moment. And I like to point out that the people that shit on The Last Jedi the most are the people that made the movie, because they took something that was incredibly beautiful and spiritual in a son that's at the dark side, sensing his mother and realizing that he could just kill her. And then you see his finger just slide off, but the people next to him fire in and she's sucked out into space. All right. That's poignant. There's a lot of depth in that.
Yeah, but not when she floats.
That's
back
what he's
up.
getting
Literally,
to. He's getting back to the incapacitation roll.
And then she fucking
Literally.
makes her incapacitation roll and Mary Poppins her fucking self back into an airlock using powers that no one's ever fucking used before. The internet loses its goddamn fucking mind.
And beyond that, we could have been saved from a lot of bullshit if everybody else had just been sucked out into space with her. But that didn't happen.
I'm gonna say this. I'm a very forgiving Star Wars fan, and even I stood up and shouted, "Oh, that's bullshit!"
I hated that part. I really did.
I have to say that it really was a hard-hitting, in-depth, soulful moment that he chose not to kill his mother, and then the organization around him did it for him. And it was like one of those that could have actually really been some major character development. But no, Mary Poppins, there we go.
Well, but here's the thing too. You also in that film, Dustin, you also have the situation where basically Luke does the Yoda bit intentionally, just like commits Jedi suicide at the end of the movie.
Yeah, it's Jedi seppuku.
Yeah.
He cut himself with his mind knife.
Yeah.
Died of exhaustion.
Oh,
He died of a broken heart like his fucking mother. So, but Chris isn't wrong, right? I mean, because there are people, like Sai mentioned it, there are people who don't want their character to die. They are here to see a continuing epic evolution saga of their character they've chosen to make and put time into and, you know, have notebooks about and fan fiction and all that shit.
Right. So that's when, if that's important to your story.
I'm just going to go out on a limb here and say those people need to find other people who want the same thing from the game and play with them. And if you want characters to die repeatedly, willy-nilly, based on how the story and the game mechanics say they should, then you need to find groups of people who want to play that way and play with them. This goes to that play your way part of the hobby where we literally say everything in the book is a suggestion, and you need to play the way that makes sense for you and your group. If you've got more than 50% of your group that doesn't want characters to die, then you damn well better be running Heroes Never Die or some variation of it. If more than 50% of your group is our dead end group that expects a character death every session, well, then you better find a way to make Savage Worlds more deadly. Because right now, it's pretty freaking hard for a character to die in Savage Worlds.
It is. I know there's some disagreement with that, and I don't understand where that comes from, because it really is tough for characters to die in Savage Worlds. I mean, it's not a game. Yeah.
I don't think people really truly understand the order of operations that it requires for character death.
Yeah, you're right.
You know, there's a series of checks there that quite literally you have to fail at every single step.
And I'm saying in Suede, it actually even got a little bit harder.
Yeah.
For a character to die.
Well, and if that's important to you, then you institute the Heroes Never Die setting rule. If that's part of your gameplay, then by all means. We're not saying every game should end with, or have the possibility of character death in it, but I mean, if you're playing Indiana Jones style pulp, you don't want characters dying, period. Even if it's by Savage Worlds rules, you don't want them dying, period. That's why that setting rule's there. The wound cap is also there to make it easier for them to avoid it.
Yep. So I have a question based on the last few years, because nobody can read books. They just watch Harry Potter and fucking Game of Thrones on HBO. Has there been a corner turn on players becoming more acceptable with character deaths because of Game of Thrones, right? Because everyone's got the big boner of like, oh, he's going to kill characters. I just don't. I don't know. I don't think so.
I don't think so.
I think that that is the whole. So in The Walking Dead, you kind of got to this point of, all right, I'm starting to like this person. Their days are numbered. Like, it didn't matter who it was. If they went from being a total tool that you couldn't stand to acting like a human being, you knew they were going to die.
As soon as they became a moral compass, the moral compass always dies.
Yeah. That's just shitty writing. Yeah.
So
it is.
What I've kind of witnessed is almost the reverse, Scott, is as popular fiction gets more and more loosey-goosey with the deaths that happen on screen. And we're not even talking about just so-and-so got old and you get the letter that he passed on. No, we're talking about on-screen executions and murders and betrayals. As more of that happens, players expect more of it to happen in the game to other people.
Yeah.
They expect to be Jon Snow or Arya Stark, where they get to survive and watch everyone drop dead around them.
Yeah, good
point. Special.
Yeah, good point. Their snowflake never melts.
And here's the thing that I honestly look at with that is, again, this goes back to knowing your players, knowing the game they expect, and if that's the type of player you have, you damn well better make sure that every other session a major NPC dies in front of them. It's just a thing you're going to have to do so that they feel like they're getting the story they expect. But if you've got players like we have in my Tuesday night group or the Friday night group, then you better put them in life-threatening situations session after session after session. There's no light-hearted session in my games. Every session, characters are at risk, whether it's in a combat, whether it's in, a political intrigue moment where they're, negotiating. The person they're negotiating with has the power to off them in one way or another, whether it's pay an assassin to come after them, whether it's go tell the king that they betrayed the house. It doesn't matter. The players are always at risk in that group because that's what the players expect. They want to feel like their characters are challenged continually to survive the game.
Damn. Man, that's just... It can be frustrating. But then again, I think part of it is that we have people watching, right? And they can answer in the chat and shit. It's like, do they like shit like Gritty Damage? GMs like shit like that because I have 800 new characters. I'm a GM. I'll do what I want, right? I have unlimited fucking character. I don't need to take time because I don't really care, right? The NPCs' personalities will develop over as we play the game. I don't have a lot of preconceived notions. And I wonder if that's the disconnect, that there are people who really don't like those rules, but they're willing. They're so hungry to play, they're going to play, right? Like you'll play with a shitty GM because you're so hungry to play. You'll listen to this dude jerk himself off mentally, with his expositions. So I don't know.
I think, and this is my personal opinion. I think there's a lot of video game crossover coming to role playing games where it's like, well, wait a minute, I just respawn, right? No, you're dead. What?
See, I hear that, and I never see that in my game because, yeah, you respawn, roll a new character.
Yeah,
that's a simple answer to that question. But
then you have no development of character. Not really.
What I see as a rollover from the video game thing is they expect you to have a railroad adventure where they're picking between A, B, and C hallways that they're going to go down because you've only given them 3 options in the dialogue. That's more what I'm seeing. I'm seeing a lack of creativity in choosing what my character is going to go do, not because the players are inured to this idea that they can respawn, but because they're so inured to the idea the game is going to, put walls around everything, and you've got this invisible barrier you can't cross.
Yeah.
I had a player in my Tuesday night group who, in a conversation, directly insulted a major demon that had disguised itself as the mayor of the local town. He dropped bloody ears into the middle of the guy's plate of food, insults him, insults his town. He thought he was dealing with a podunk mayor who had no power. And when I had the captain of the guard teleport behind him, grab him by the shoulders, and teleport away, and the rest of the party attacks the mayor, and then he bamps into a major demon, they all apologized to me for ruining my game. Because I told them that wasn't what I had planned for tonight, but when you guys attacked the mayor, I had no choice but to unleash what was, planned for 9 sessions from now to be revealed. And they're like, oh, well, we didn't mean to ruin the game. I'm like, you didn't ruin the game at all. You took it in a direction I didn't expect. That's what the whole point of the game is. And I had to explain that to him multiple times. You didn't ruin anything. But they're so used to that. This is the hallway, and we get to room 1 before we get to room 3.
Yeah, sure.
And they can't understand the idea that as a GM, I'm ready for you to turn and go to room 12.
Yeah. Yeah, and I've had that complaint before. There was a player who actually quit one of my games. We had like 7 players, so it was pushing limit. But they, I do all the like physical clues and props and shit. And they had a main plot, and then they had these subplots, and everything had clues to it. And I mean, they had all this shit building up, and all these clues and scrolls and all this nonsense. And finally, the dude just broke. He just snapped at the fucking table. He was like, I don't understand why you can't just tell us what the fuck you want us to do. Like, why is there so many choices we have? And it was just like, dude, what the fuck, man? So he was fucking serious.
No, it's true. It's whenever a new choice is introduced, it doubles the amount of time it would take. So if you give someone a 50-50, they can usually make up their mind. If you give them 4 choices, it takes them either twice as long to 4 times as long to make a decision.
It's crazy.
And infinite choices just frees some people up.
Yeah.
So, I mean, what we're talking about is kind of like video game gameplay, right? Where I'm on a track, I've got an objective to accomplish. It's not an open world. I'm leveling. I got to complete this level, that level.
Open world. This whole idea of open world games and video games, they're not. They're a theme park full of a bunch of funhouse buildings that you're going to go through in a very specific order.
Right.
You just get to choose which funhouse to go into first. And I think that's what a lot of players come to the table expecting. And quite honestly, if you cannot break the player out of that mindset, that player gets invited back to play Hero Quest, Warhammer Quest, the old dungeon board game, all the new D&D like Wrath of Ashardalon and Legend of Driz and Legend of Castle Ravenloft. These are just board games that play exactly like a tabletop RPG mechanically, but take all the role play out of it. It's reveal the next tile in the dungeon and just do the dungeon crawl. Because that's what that player has come to your table wanting. Why not provide it to them? And when you're playing with people who want a more in-depth role-play experience, play the role-playing game.
Yeah, right.
I'm going to throw Art's question up here, and this is going to be our last one because we're past-ish.
Oh, shit.
But Art throws out there, can bennies become too powerful to the point that the players abuse it? I'm going to say this. We as GMs in Savage Worlds need to get over this idea that bennies are GM kryptonite. Goddamn, let it go. And here's what I'll say, because I'm just gonna kind of paraphrasing what Davis said before on this podcast. If your players are overcoming all the challenges and obstacles you're putting in front of them that are valid story points, you're not just trying to throw shit at their feet and try to make them stumble. But if they're valid story points, then you're not using all the rules. Yeah. Unstable platform, fatigue penalties. You're not applying all the bonuses or ads. You're not using all the rules. Use them. Because bennies are there. They do give the players a lot more leverage in the game to do things, but they're not I win buttons.
Right. I think that's a good point, is leverage. I mean, the bennies have rules. They can do X things. So I guess I don't understand how they become more powerful than what the rules say they are.
So there have been, at least in the past 2 weeks, 4 separate discussions about this I've seen in social media.
Wow.
One of which Shane actually answered and said, "You're not giving away enough bennies." If that's the opinion that you have, you're not giving away enough bennies as a GM. Because if bennies flow freely toward the players will throw those things on the table to do multi-actions. They'll throw those things on the table to narrate part of a scene. They will use all the things the benny does more readily if you're providing them to them. You're not providing enough bennies. And here's the thing. Once you get to that point, once you reach equilibrium where you're throwing bennies at the players at the same rate they're throwing them back into the center of the table, what you're going to realize is that bennies are the absolute least of your worries as a GM.
Right.
You're suddenly starting to become more worried about, did I let Chris get to use all of his edges tonight? Did Dustin get a chance to shine at all? Did Scott ever get a chance to actually pull out that new weapon he just got last week? Mm-hmm. Oh, wait, Jesus Christ. Jared just spent an advance on a new spell, and I haven't challenged him in a manner that lets him, you use that new power. All of a sudden, that's what you're going to be worried about as a GM, not whether or not there's enough freaking bennies hitting the table, or, oh my God, what happens if they throw a benny down and they automatically succeed against my big Etten? Well, okay, so the Etten had an older brother. I don't fucking care. The Etten was guarding the portal into the black hells of depth and, right. Whatever. I don't care what it is their characters actually achieve in the game. There's nothing a player character can achieve that a GM can't take away from them. Mm-hmm. There's nothing that a player wants their character to do that a GM can't find a way to make challenging if you're willing to use the rules and be creative and not just be an asshole and say, no, you can't achieve that. You can make these things fun and engaging. The benny is the least of your worries.
And when I see this come up too, I'm wondering if GMs are actually utilizing their bennies intelligently. Like, there's something to be said for the strategies you apply when using bennies, and we said it before, we'll say it again. I like to do them on a pose test to set a very high mark.
Yeah. Yes.
Like, oh, this big bad. Oh, 12 on an intimidation roll. Nah, it's not high enough. Let's throw down some bennies. Oh, 28. Yeah, I think we're good with that.
Right.
And now you watch all those bennies that you handed out earlier start flying at the table because now they've got something that they're trying to achieve. There's a number there, and you will see players throw bennies at that like you would not freaking believe.
Yeah.
Because now it's a challenge. Oh, I'm going to beat that 28.
Yeah.
I've got 4 more bennies. Screw this.
And now you're out of hit points.
Hey, give me a notice roll -4 to spot the ninjas about to drop on you.
Mhm.
You watch all the bennies hit the table in that moment. Every single one of them.
That is still always one of my favorite fucking discussion topics, man. I love that fucking topic. I love seeing people lose their
and to tell the players what it is the characters don't know.
Yeah. I love that shit so much. It's such a cool topic because I know people lose their fucking minds over it.
It's dumb.
Yeah, give me a notice roll to spot the sniper who's got you in his crosshairs about to do a headshot.
Oh man,
What?
It's such an obtuse way of fucking deflecting, what's about to happen in the game. It's crazy. I love it, right? I'm all for it. It's how people when they defend when they hate it so much, they're just like, it's fucking stupid. What do you mean? Give me a notice roll?
My immersion, bro. My immersion.
There's
You
no
just
immersion.
told me. You just told me what it is I'm going to notice. What if I don't notice it? My immersion, bro.
There's no immersion in gaming.
Okay, well, if you fail the roll, how about you step up your role play and pretend like your character doesn't know it?
Right? Yeah. Instead of throwing a Benny again, you fucking make that
Did
one.
I say that out loud?
Snap.
The immersion, bro.
What?
Did I just throw the immersion back on this quote unquote I'm a role player?
Yeah.
Well, how about you stop fucking metagaming, dickhead?
Yep.
You do that?
Yep. That's what's crazy about it. We're like, oh man.
I'm gonna say this too. The Benny bait is real.
Yeah.
It's a tried and true. Are you happy with that?
Yeah.
Are you happy with that?
I loved watching this happen. Now that Jared is actually playing as a player in our Dead End playtest rather than a GM.
Does he fall for it?
Never.
He absolutely does.
No, when did I No.
You have chased it at least twice that I can think of off the top of my head. Where you were
More times than not, I did not reroll.
No, I'm not happy with that. Here's my Betty.
More times than not, I go, yeah, I'm fucking happy with that. And it's usually with a failure. Yeah, no, I'm sticking with the failure. But yeah, the Benny bait is real, and you will drain players of Bennies just by putting on there. You happy with that?
Yep, just like tie hookers and sailors.
Well, that seems like a good note to close it out on. So until next time,
close the show on.
Until next time, this is Jared Savage getting for Chris, Dave, Dustin, and Scott saying keep rolling, stay savage.
Tie hookers.